There are times in every awakening journey when you realize that you are more than the life you've been living. But perhaps you're unsure of how to put that more into words. It turns out that there are just 3 simple questions that can orient you. Possibly the most important questions you can ever ask yourself. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Most people never actually ask these questions. They just keep living as the person that they were taught to be, instead of being who they actually are. But once these questions rise in you, your life stops being something that happens to you and becomes something you're consciously co-creating. So today I want to offer you a doorway. Because when you walk through these 3 questions with honesty, everything about your identity, your purpose, and your path in life begins to shift. So let's dive in here. What are the most important questions that you can ask yourself? So, as I alluded to, at some point in life, every awakening person realizes the life they built is too small to hold who they actually are. There's this yearning to become and live in alignment with who you actually are. And the only way you can do that is if you know who you are. So it's time to ask yourself, who am I? Who am I really? I'll start with some ways to potentially think about this. Are you your name? No, you have a name. Are you your body? No, you have a body. Are you your mind? You have a mind. Are you your job? You have a job. When you strip all of these things away, if you remove every label, who is left? Who is left is your essence. Your essence is who you are. So what actually is your essence? Here is where we are limited by language. Language is used to distill down something into a very simplified form for ease of communication. But it is not the essence of something. It's just words. For example, the word love in no possible way can fully encapsulate what love actually is. It's just a word. Therefore, who you are is beyond words. You are literally undefinable. But it can be helpful to still have some direction, to be in narrowing things down and orienting. So let's offer some direction here. As Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything in existence is energy, frequency, and vibration. Therefore, you are energy, frequency, and vibration. That is essentially the simplest way of explaining anything. So, Nikola Tesla wasn't just speaking metaphorically, he was pointing at the deeper truth of who we are. Essentially, who you are is the specific and unique frequency that you emanate. Love, peace, joy, a completely unique combination that cannot be replicated. That unique combination of energy, frequency, and vibration is who you are. We often look to the external world to define who we are. I am someone who shows up on time, drives a certain car, has a certain job, so on and so forth. But your intangible nature is who you are, and is then reflected in the way that you live your life in these external forms. So, your essence is the frequency you radiate when nothing is forcing you to be anything else. So perhaps taking some time and asking this question, who am I when everything from my external life is removed? If everything from my external life was taken away, my relationships, my physical possessions, my way of earning a living, my hobbies, so on and so forth, what is left? What are your unique characteristics, your unique way of expressing? That is who you are. Now that we have a sense of how to think about who we are, then a good question to ask is, well, what am I? This is the type of question that is so potent precisely because it is almost never asked. It is just assumed. I mean, think about it. Have you ever asked yourself that question? What am I? It can kind of bring about a similar dynamic as the who am I question. But again, let's start orienting towards the way typically people might start to think about this. Generally, one might start answering this question as identifying that they are a being of some sort. And then you start going down the list of like, well, what kind of being? A human being. So that is typically probably the first landing spot people would arrive at. And then, well, you might ask yourself, well, what kind of human? What kind of human being am I? And you go, man or a woman. And then from there, well, what kind of man or woman? And then you start going down things like non-identity based physical characteristics. I'm a tall man or I'm a skinny woman. And then maybe things like your ethnicity or skin tone or other physical characteristics. And then, well, what kind of person with all of these characteristics? And then again, you might start going into the types of roles you might be playing. I'm a parent, a student, or a business owner, so on and so forth. That would be the view from the top down of potentially trying to address this question of what am I? And you can also take it from the inverse, from the bottom up. There is a prevailing view from the bottom up in a more scientific way of thinking. The predominant way of thinking is that in terms of what are we, would be that we are a collection of atoms, cells, particles, molecules that make up larger things like tissues, organs, bodily systems that make up this human being that we are. And that your consciousness sits somewhere in your brain or your head, and that is operating everything from within your body. Essentially, we're just a bunch of physical matter, stuff. Well, to potentially question that prevailing assumption, quantum physics actually points to the fact that consciousness does not emanate from your body at all, and that it is even measurable with scientific instruments that we have energy fields, and they extend out in all directions, perhaps even out into infinity, meaning your consciousness extends beyond your body. Quantum physics also proves that almost everything is energy, just like I alluded to with what Nikola Tesla mentioned. This has been scientifically verified. If zooming into the smallest particles inside of atoms, it is shown that in between the smallest of particles is 99.999% empty space. Essentially, just pure energy. So while if you were to zoom into your being, into your atoms and cells, there's 99.9% just empty space, just pure energy. So while it looks like you are this physical compilation of stuff appearing as solid matter, you're essentially just energy. So it could be worth pondering the fact of what is something that is 99.9% energy. Quantum physics also proves that you can experience energetic connection, that is called quantum entanglement, with literally everything in existence. With literally just a single thought, you impact things in other universes entirely. Essentially, in a way, you are everything, everywhere, all at once. What actually are you? Who or what is capable of being everything, everywhere, all at once? As far as I know, only one being is capable of that. And we tend to call that being God, the creator, the source of all creation, the same consciousness that animates everything. Therefore, by default, you are an extension of this infinite consciousness, a unique fractal projection of the one infinite source of consciousness, currently inhabiting a dense physical form. It is often said that we are not human beings having spiritual experiences, but that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So what are you? A fractal of source, experiencing existence in a more finite form as a human being. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. And the you that is a soul has your human self as an avatar. So now, with these two questions sorted to an extent, or perhaps stirring some things to think about in terms of who and what are you, who and what am I, then one must ask, why would a fractal of the infinite source place itself inside this dense physical form on this planet at this precise moment in linear time? Why did an infinite fractal source choose to be you, right here, right now? To suffer? To feed its own ego desires? To engage in mundane, repetitive activities that you don't enjoy? Or perhaps for something more? The next major question to ask is, why am I here? I could be somewhere else. I could be anywhere else in the infinite realm of existence. And yet I'm right here, right now. Why? This question naturally begins to answer itself when the other prior questions are considered thoroughly. You start understanding your own uniqueness, what you emanate that no one else does, what you are uniquely suited to offer to the whole, and what you are here to express. When someone starts to recognize themselves as a fractal of source of the infinite, why am I here stops being a puzzle to solve and becomes a calling to answer. This is where your purpose or mission arises from. Once you get clarity on it, you naturally begin orienting yourself towards fulfilling this life purpose with every major life decision that you make. So, now I said that there were 3 primary questions to ask yourself, but there's actually a bonus 4th question. And it follows along nicely with the why am I here question. When you settle on some of, or perhaps all of these questions, some form of an answer, to have some type of cohesive answer for these very important questions, the natural follow-up that you will end up asking yourself is, well, now what? What do I do with all this? The next logical question that arises is, what do I want? What do I want to experience once I settled on who I am, what I am, and why I'm here? What do I want? If you ask yourself what you want without knowing who and what you are, what you want will be answered for you by the culture and your environment. We typically ask these questions in reverse. We start by just naturally asking, well, what do I want from my life? What do I want from this existence? As if you're trying to get something and the environment is just going to give you something without you having any clarity on who and what you are, so that it can be a inevitable natural reflection of who and what you are. So naturally, we tend to think we just want what everyone else wants. A good job, an attractive partner, maybe fame or wealth, material success. It's not that any of those things are inherently misaligned, but when there is no stable foundation behind them, all they will bring is emptiness. Once you know your essence, your desires become expressions of your soul. So, this can also start answering itself. As you recognize who and what you are, understanding your own uniqueness and what you offer to the whole, you naturally just begin to orient yourself around that. You realize you wish to express yourself. You have something inside of you that wishes to be shared with the world, a song that wishes to be sung. You wish to evolve yourself beyond who or what you have believed yourself to be. You then realize that perhaps you had been fitting yourself into an imaginary box, and now you wish to transcend that imaginary box and evolve yourself. Or you will wish to simply experience life from this place of awareness, simply to add to your own soul's collection of experiences. And generally, more often than not, you wish to be of service. As you recognize your part in the whole, your unique contributions to the collective, you want to help others find their way as well, and to create harmony. Now what you desire becomes sacred, instead of just given to you by your society, or perhaps just an impulsive reach for something to fill a void. So in closing, I hope this helped you ponder some things for yourself. The invitation is for you to really sit with these questions. Perhaps perform this as a meditative exercise by moving through these questions in this order that I laid out here. Let them wash over you. And don't be surprised if your answers keep evolving alongside you. So I've engaged with these questions very thoroughly myself. If you'd like support in navigating the deeper mysteries of your own self and psyche, clearing the limiting beliefs of who you think you are, or orienting yourself with your life's purpose, I do offer one-on-one support in these areas. I welcome you to check out my website link in the description for ways that I might be able to support you. I would be honored to do so. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.